Hello, my name is Setche Park, and this is my the week review video for the week 2 of CSCI 142. This week we did chapter 2 in the textbook for Revel. This week was, it had a lot of, or chapter 1 was more about just basics about programming in general, and this week kind of delved into more of the, let's say, math operations and a little bit more into Java and how Java works. So for me, it was a little bit easier this week because I already took Python, and a lot of the concepts with math and operations and stuff, I guess, applies the same from Python to Java, and I'm guessing it also is pretty similar with other languages as well. There's like addition, subtraction, division. One thing that was really interesting was in Python, if you wanted to have decimal points, then you would do 2 slashes, but in Java you would just use one slash for division, and then you would have to define the type of data type, or how many, or you would have to define it as double or float point in order to make it and to have decimal points. And then I did learn modulo in Python as well, and everything was a really good review for me, just kind of refresh my memory, and also I had to learn everything in Python language. And something that just keeps coming up is the semicolons, trying to remember to do at the end, because Python we didn't have to do that, but Java everything has to end in a semicolon, so I'm still trying to get used to that. All the math is pretty similar. One thing that I did learn about the math though is the string concatenation. When it adds everything together, like when it has numbers and operations and it adds it with like a string number, the whole thing becomes a string. And I did know this fact, but it's just like a reminder to come up, because I did miss that on the quiz, because I forgot that. I forgot to call it a string. I forgot to specify that. Data types, I think this was the hardest part for me, just figuring out which data type kind of like how it interacts with the server and how much data it uses, because there's like how a long uses more data than a short and stuff like that, but it's still a little confusing to keep everything in track of how much data each thing uses. We also learned about naming conventions, like how for you can't use certain things for you can't use certain names because it's reserved names for like things like class and like double and like int stuff like that. We can't use that as names. And then also, if you're naming things, then it has to be or for class names, no, for class names it has to be capitalized, but then for variable names and stuff, it starts off with a lowercase, and then if you're going to add more words, then each start word has a capital letter. And then for permanent numbers, which is something else we learned, or permanent variables, sorry, which is something that stays the same throughout the whole thing. You want to use capital letters just for organization reasons, like if you want to have 3.14, so on and so forth. You don't want to write that all the time, so you just make a permanent variable and then just call it pi, but it would be like capital P, capital I. So those are stuff I learned. I thought the videos were, of course videos are always helpful, just trying to reincorporate it in a different way of just reading the textbook. I'd say it wasn't as helpful as last week because, or it was helpful of course, but it had less of an impact because I already understood the material very well. Just a recap summary, we learned about just like math operations and how to do those kinds of things, and we applied that to the just a lot of different programming things like minutes, times, and hours, days, years, stuff like that. We also learned about data types and making sure to label everything and like as a double or float, and we could also learn how to convert those things, and we learned about naming certain things and how to name them to keep organized. And there was one more I was going to talk about. Right. We also learned how to get input from the user, which is using the scanner tool. And that's it for this video. Thank you.